There was no vlog last week because episode 9 of Kami no Kiba Jinga was just one long clip show episode. I don't even know why Garo keeps doing that with their 12 episode series, technically 13 because the episode 0, because it was clearly unneeded, considering how short the series is. I mean, yeah, when you have a longer series which barely pays attention to or gives hints to the story arc and is just mainly standalone character development or crazy, interesting horror episodes, you get more needed to remind people of what is actually important in the story. But here, it's 12 episodes plus the episode 0. You could have cut this one from the production schedule entirely and, put it more towards other elements of the main series. It's the same thing I've said about Neo Saban Power Rangers. It has this holiday clip shows, except the holiday clip shows are eating up budget that should have been sent elsewhere in the series production. Ugh. There's a reason why television series so rarely use clip shows anymore. Serialized storytelling makes it unnecessary. I mean, unless you've got a really big, long series running and you need to remind people of what has happened over the entire length of it, especially if it's been running over, say, multiple years, or all of these flashback elements are coming to a head and relevance in the story, so you feel like you need to remind people of them instead of making them flashback to when, oh hey, you did this all this time ago, and that is awesome that you brought that back. Which usually comes up mainly when people rewatch content. Case in point, One Piece has that kind of brilliance because Eiichiro Oda is kind of the god of foreshadowing with his storytelling, and I keep bringing that up because I really like One Piece and I don't really have much of a cause to talk about it. And yeah, I think that's Dodger of Zion's territory with his History of One Piece videos. At least I think that's the guy's name. I was in a short conversation on one of Patricia Miranda's vlogs with the guy. I think once or twice we've both been on the same featurette of that, but that is neither here nor there. Basically, clip show episodes, there's nothing to really recap or talk about, so skip it in dealing with any of this. Episode 10, however, then picks up directly from episode 8, and with Jinga being shocked about this other girl that was the previous guy horror's love interest being possessed by a horror, and he nor the watchdogs understand why that might be. With them finally naming the guy who I have been forgetting the name of, and I believe it's Rosen? I'm terrible with names. You all should know this by how many of these I've done with this series. Rozan, yeah. R-O-Z-A-N. Rozan. Yeah. He's on the cast listing now. Of course they do it now. So yeah, he comes in. He's still angry because his student, whose name I am also blanking on, not on the cast listing, because of course it's not. Yeah, because his student disappeared around Jinga, and with the monk and his son being killed by Horror Jnga a few episodes ago, he's pissed, he is very annoyed, and he wants to figure out what is Jinga's deal, so wants him brought in, alongside them also bringing in the man who was the previously purified horror, because he thinks that the guy's still a horror, and whatever Jinga did removed the Inga from his body, and purified the malevolence of the horror, but didn't actually kill the horror, or tear it out of his body. It's like, how should I phrase this? It is like the Mado horror phenomena from Garo Yami Trasumono, in that the Mado horrors from that series were all created without the generation of Inga. The horror seeds, the horror plants from the, entity Radam was Goldstorm, so I am completely blanking on the guy's name. I hate when I do that. Fortunately, I have the wiki pulled up right here, so, Zedam, that was it. Zedam seeds created the Mado horrors who did not have Inga within them, so they could not detect the the aberrant horror nature within them. So they had no way to detect them until they got the special detection device and Mado horror flesh to put in it. So I'm thinking that's the thought process Rosin is on with this, and that Jinga might purify horrors of evil intent, leaving the human behind, but they might still actually be horrors and thus grow power and influence through the generation of their own malevolence, which clearly this guy went back to. But if that's the case, then everybody Jinga has purified has actually been a true horror all of this time. Now, this obviously puts Toma in extreme danger, considering he's one of the people that Jinga Mikage saved, and, well, at this point, Toma is the only reason that Jinga is living. So if Rosin is right, and the people Jinga purified are still horrors, the Mikage Order is still duty-bound to slay them, as there's no telling when the horror instincts will come back, especially since this one guy went back to doing all the malevolent things he was doing before and generating his own Jnga. The schoolgirl from episode 1 also, even though they did extended surveillance of her, might fall into the same trap and just be a easy gate for horrors to manifest. So obviously I can see the Mikage Orders deal with this, but I can also see why Jinga would instinctively want to refuse their requests, because, come on, it's his younger brother. Of course he's going to do everything to protect him. And that's pretty much how the episode goes. Jinga splitting from the Mikage Order, not just because they don't understand him and what he actually wants to do when saving all of these people, aka the blind faith that was set up in episode 8 that ended up driving why the Mikage Senate no longer trusts him, because the watchdogs don't want the Mikage Knights operating without orders, even though, you know, it is their sworn duty to deal with horrors the second they manifest. So an infestation of horrors existing in the city like this is, well, it's against their entire modus operandi, so I don't see why I still don't see why they just left them all to fester like this, because, come on, you deal with them fast or you'll never get rid of them. Duh. So I feel they're kind of being stupid on both fronts on this. Regardless, with Jinga refusing orders and Ryza out to get him, of course things are going to be raised to a head, and the horror Jinga within Jinga Mikage is going to reap the benefits, as the second Jinga gives up on humanity, Jinga can just take permanent control. Fusa, of course, I think this was stuck in the middle of all of this, as, well, she has faith in Jinga. This episode shows that the two have known each other since childhood, and she is likely Jinga Mikage's love interest from this life, as opposed to Amelie from his previous one that just got turned into a horror and is still around. So, how should I put this? She has the spell to prove once and for all that Toma is either human or horror. The Mikage Order does not have access to this spell, as, well, as explained in a previous episode, it caused so much second guessing, and basically the Mikage Order equivalent of the Salem witch trials, and how they started using this spell on everybody to ferret out whether they were a horror or not, and it's a bit more at least I assume so, that it might be a bit more intrusive than the Mado Flame, where you just look in the guy's eyes. Like, is there a difference? We haven't seen the spell cast yet, but honestly, her hesitation, I think, is what ended up escalating this entire conflict, as one way or the other, she would know if Toma is actually purified and being back to human, then the problem is with the horror Jinga within Jinga Mikage that's causing all these greater problems. And Rosin is, like, going psycho just to discredit the man who's technically not actually responsible for his disciples' death. And it is basically just one large witch hunt. But if Toma is a horror, that breaks Jnga, he collapses, then they need to deal with horror Jnga, and, well, we know in the grand scheme that's on their side. It's the only reason that Fumasa hasn't done it is just basically an excuse for stupid drama at this point, and that part of this plot I don't like, as, come on, she has more than enough suspicions. She knows Jinga Mikage better than anyone else alive at this point. She's been there right with him, and yet her faith is unironically blinded her, which was of course, the name of episode 8, Blind Faith, Skeptical Doubt, and then here we're seeing that on top of the predicament they're in, we see that the influence of horror Jnga has grown on Jinga Mikage as a growing arrogance in how he has to be the one to do this. Of course, influenced by the idiot Makai priest from episode 8 that got himself killed. Jnga has the power to do this. Jnga has the power to undo all of these wrongs. Jnga has the power to give these people second chances, even though we have seen one who has wasted that chance already. Bring down an innocence in all of this in how he wasn't able to be possessed by a horror because of this purification. Now, this part of the plot I do think is interesting, as it's continuing the gray area we have in that is the purification of the horror essence while leaving him alive what kept him from being possessed, or is he actually still just a horror without the malevolence of a horror within him due to the purification? So, did he actually go back to being human, or is there still a kill order out of him because of the nature of what he's become? Again, the light side, dark side, gray vision element of the series is both frustrating and makes it interesting with how it really is a microcosm of everything to view the split sides and yet the muddied gray that eludes everything. I kind of think I looped myself on that. But yeah, Jinga's now on his own, dragging Toma with him, and Rosen and the watchdogs' disciples are tracking him down, and that's where we're left at things. So, final arc, final 2 episodes. I am so curious about where it's going, and my neighbors are being very loud as they come in the doorway. Apartment living. So that's all I really have for this week. As usual, reviewing any single Garo episode doesn't really take that long, not because of stuff not going on, but simply everything is very simple and straightforward to understand and recap. I'm gonna note again Masahiro Inue's acting in this, as horror Jnga and Jinga Mikage are blurring, you see insertions of one or the other's mannerisms as the most assertive, and I gotta think the arrogance that we're seeing here is a mix of Jinga's influence leaking into Jnga, and dear God, that still ceases to not be confusing in when I phrase it like that. Yeah. Still better than what he's doing on the other show, where he's now cameoing for a few episodes, where it's just... So yeah, we'll be back with the final 2 episodes eventually. The next Jnga episode is airing, actually as I'm recording this, so funny, with the last one at the end of December, so at least I should have recaps through the end of the year. Though, in another video I'm going to have to actually address what's going to be happening next year, but that's for then. So, I'm up for now. Thanks for watching. See you next time.